The mayor was
Well, good evening, everyone. Really enjoy seeing this very large crowd and packed room tonight. We are here, hopefully, you are here for a city council meeting, and if you are, you're here at the right place. Before we move into our formal council meeting, we do have one item on our public hearing this evening, which I will call out first. Public hearing 1, public hearing on ordinance number 4547. An ordinance to amend ordinance 4400, the zoning ordinance of the city of Columbia, by amending the Honey Farm PUD master plan for a 7.49 acre portion of lot 6 in Honey Farm Crossing at tax map 51, parcel 58, located off of Nashville Highway and Honey Farm Way. Anyone this evening in the audience wish to be heard on public hearing number 1? Seeing none, anyone on council wish to be heard on public hearing number 1? Hearing none, entertain a motion to close public hearing number 1. Moved and properly seconded. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison, Mr. Huffman, Mr. Marshall, Mr. McKelvey, Ms. Sechrist, Vice Mayor McBroom, Mayor Mulder.
Aye. That item, public hearing number 1, is now closed. Okay, now I will welcome you once again to City Council chambers at the Columbia City Hall. We are glad to see so many of you here tonight. We also say a special hello to those of you who may be watching online, either live on our YouTube stream or after the fact. We're glad that you decided to join in and tune in, and we think we have a lot of good work to be done this evening. With that, Mr. Jablonski, I'd ask that you'd please call the roll.
Ms. Hardison, Mr. Huffman, Mr. Marshall, Mr. McKelvey, Ms. Sechrist, Vice Mayor McBroom,
Here.
Mayor Mulder.
Here, let the record reflect all members of council are present. Next item on our agenda is the invocation by Randy Owens of the West 7th Street Church of Christ. Randy Owens, there you are, Randy Owens, come on up. Thank you for being here this evening, and thank you for agreeing to provide tonight's invocation, and also thank you to the West 7th Street Church of Christ for all of its many contributions that it makes to the city of Columbia. We know that there are several, and we really appreciate that on behalf of all of City Council. If you'll please send that back to your own church. As he's now at the podium, I'd ask for those of you who are able to please stand for the invocation. And if you'll please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, which we're really pleased this evening to have leading us, the Columbia Police Department Color Guard. So if you'll please, Honor Guard. Columbia Police Department Honor Guard. I do apologize. Honor Guard. So we'll have the invocation, and then the Columbia Police Department Honor Guard will take it from there.
Let's pray. Dear God in heaven, your name is hallowed, and you are worthy of all of our praise. You created the world, and we thank you for all that is good, holy, pure, and upright. Tonight, we're very thankful for the privilege of living in America, in Tennessee, in Columbia. Of all the people on the earth, we are blessed to call this home. And we thank you for the men and women who, for many years, have served our country, defended our freedoms, and allowed us to have this blessed life. Father, today at this meeting, we come before you asking for help. You are sovereign and you ordain governments. We understand the importance of good leadership, and we thank you for all those who serve our city well. Tonight we ask for wisdom and understanding. We ask for vision and boldness. We ask for grace and patience for all. Help us to obey your command to love our neighbor as ourselves. This is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Honor guard detail. Post. I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, you may be seated. Next item on the agenda is approval of agenda. It's been moved and properly. There's been a motion to approve. Mr. McKelvey,
I would like to ask that resolution number
9.4.
9.4 be moved to the head of the resolution part of the agenda, to the first spot.
To
9.1.
9.1.
Yes.
Councilmember Marshall, are you amenable to amending your motion to approve the agenda subject to moving 9.4 to the head of the resolutions topic?
Yes.
All right, that motion's been made. Properly second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison, Mr. Huffman, Mr. Marshall, Mr. McKelvey, Ms. Sechrist, Vice Mayor McBroom, Mayor Mulder.
Aye. That agenda is approved as modified. Now we move into presentations. We have a couple presentations. I'm actually going to go, if it's okay with council, go a little bit out of order, beginning with the presentation of a proclamation regarding National Police Week. We were really proud to have our honor guard here this evening, and they always do such a phenomenal job of wearing our colors and honoring our country by carrying the flag and our state flag, and we're really proud of really that honor guard that has not been in place for a totally long time, or at least it's definitely made significant improvements, and it's really nice to see them here this evening. Well, they're here this evening also because it is part of National Police Week, which is upcoming. I hope all of you will mark your calendars if you are able to attend the police memorial service at Pleasant Heights Baptist Church on Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. That is a service that, if you've never been, I promise you will leave with some inspiration and some appreciation for our law enforcement. And if you've been before, you'll know what I'm talking about. So with that said, I'd like to ask council to please join me in the well for a presentation regarding National Police Week. And if I could also ask that the honor guard and every other member of law enforcement who's here to please join us as well. All right, y'all gather around. Come on, Vice Mayor. Captain Dark, I don't know if there's anything you want to say. I know that our chiefs are at a conference, and we're happy to have you here and everyone. I won't put you on the spot like that, but I will read this proclamation if that's okay. Whereas there are more than 1.2 million law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Columbia Police Department. Since the first recorded death in 1786, more than 26,934 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and have been killed in the line of duty, including one member of the Columbia Police Department on April 5, 1981. Whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their law enforcement agency, and that our Columbia police officers recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Charles M. Mulder, and the City Council of all the City of Columbia do hereby declare the week of May 11th through 17th as National Police Week in Columbia, Tennessee.
We'd just like to say that a little history. 1962, JFK made a 15th National Police Memorial Day, and then the week that fell is how you know Police Memorial Week. So, and again, May the 13th, we're going to honor celebration at the Pleasant Heights Church. Short ceremonies will go from the church to Woodland Park to the Hero Shelter for a very short ceremony there. And would welcome everybody to attend.
All right. Thank you. Let's get on another round of applause. Guys, Council, if you'll just stay down with me, we do have another presentation. In addition to serving our city so well from a law enforcement perspective, and how fortunate we are to have such a sophisticated first-class law enforcement agency, we're also very fortunate to have a very sophisticated and first-class public works department. And if you live in the city of Columbia and you've been around during a snowy or icy related event, you'll know what I mean. They get their streets clean. In fact, sometimes my street gets cleaned a little too quickly to my kids' chagrin. They don't really like that. They want to sled, but we want to keep people safe, and that is what's important. And that's one of many things that our public works department does, including replacing potholes on a daily basis, contrary to some of what you may see on Facebook. That includes making sure that your garbage is collected. That is making sure that traffic signals are working. That is improving sidewalks. There's really nothing that, in my opinion, that I've seen in my 6 years in doing this job that our public works department cannot do, or at least will not try to do if they're asked to do. And you learn many things in this job, and one of the things you learn is to appreciate your public works department more than you probably ever did before, just because you know the value. So with that said, we also have a Public Works Week that we're going to declare in Columbia. So if the Public Works folks would come forward, I know we have at least a few, maybe just two, only two from Public Works. Okay. Oh, we even have a poster. So since we only have two, I'm going to ask this former employee of the month if he'd like to say anything on behalf of Public Works. Don is the designated speaker. Okay. Well, let the record reflect. He is a former employee of the month and a very valuable member of the Public Works team. And he's also the only one here. Now, whether or not that's by choice or not, we won't ask him outside of Donna. So I'd say that's got to be good for something from the wire. So anyway, Donna, would you like to say anything?
Just in addition to what Mayor Mulder said, we also handle all the drainage in the city. When we have like the tornadoes that hit, our department is one of the first departments out. We handle all of the FEMA operations that go along with that, FEMA and FEMA. Plus we've also got just our normal daily Operations where we're answering the phones, handling the budget, anything like that that needs to be done, directing people to other departments as well. So we talk to a lot of people. But National Public Works Week has been declared by the National Public Works Association. It's the third week of May every year. So during that week, we try to treat our employees just a little bit better. When we can get them to slow down long enough to come in, we'll give them a meal, and that's about all we're able to do because we stay so busy this time of the year with the weather.
Well, it's always amazing to me. One of my favorite events is the Thanksgiving lunch that y'all do every year. And it's always amazing to me about the time I get there, a lot of the sanitation crew is getting there around noon, and they have just completed their cycle for the day. And that's because they're starting sometimes as early as 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. And so they are working when we are sleeping in a lot of ways, and not just during weather-related events. I think Don and I have said everything this proclamation says.
Absolutely.
So I'm not going to read this proclamation in its entirety, but let the record reflect that it is National Public Works Week in Columbia, Tennessee, beginning on May the 18th through 24th. And let the record also reflect how proud we are to have them in the city of Columbia and what they do. And I think we should give them a round of applause. Gather around here. Come on, Charlie. You get the photo.
What are you going to do? Get behind you?
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Now look.
3, 2, and 1. You got it.
All right.
Hey, listen, buddy, you know you're going to do it.
All right, Council, if you'll hang down with me for one more special recognition and presentation before we get to item 5.4, which is Will Evans' presentation. Tonight's a special occasion because we have the opportunity to graduate the latest class, if you call it that. I don't know if it's fair to call it a class, but the latest Mayor's Youth Council class. And, I'm sort of like teachers. Sometimes teachers say they have their favorite classes for different reasons, and they can tell you why. I'm not scared to admit that really this class this year, for a multitude of reasons, was my favorite class. One is because we had a lot of returning members, which was cool. I mean, you're doing it 2 years in a row. That means you must like it, or at least it must be something to bring you back. One is because there were some people on the council that I personally knew and had relationships with outside of City Hall, so it was cool to sort of see them in a different atmosphere. Another is because there were several I had no clue who they were, and I enjoyed knowing that we had some diversity of people in the sense of, I don't like everybody. I want there to be some people I don't know that can learn some things. And then the other thing is just seeing you all throughout the community over the last year is something that I think set y'all apart. I mean, whether or not it was representing the Mayor's Youth Council, or whether or not it was at a sporting event at Columbia Academy, or whether or not it was, being on student council Central when I was with y'all the other night, locked in past my bedtime. You notice I got out of there quick. But y'all have represented Columbia so well, and when you serve on this Mayor's Youth Council, you also are representing the city government, the city council, the mayor and the vice mayor, and so I think that's what really is what I'm so grateful for the way that you handled yourselves, and why I think that this class will be forever known as the best class ever in terms of the Mayor's Youth Council. And unfortunately, this is on the video, so the class from last year is going to hear that, but. I think there's a lot that could be said with regards to the future of this class. Not all of them are seniors. If you're a senior on Mayor's Youth Council, raise your hand. So we have a lot of seniors, as you'll see, and I about know what almost all of the seniors are doing, but they're all going big places and doing big things. Some of them are going far away. Some of them are staying right here, but they're all doing awesome things, and they got the foundation that they laid for them here while they were in Columbia. I tell people all the time, that I was the youngest mayor to ever be in office at the time that y'all were, your age. So I'm the closest to your age any mayor's ever been. And even though I'm getting a little bit older, it makes me feel proud that we got a little bit of respect. And I can see the smirking back here. So with that said, the final reason that I really like this class, actually two more reasons. One reason is that there's an individual who was quintessential to this class and the success this year, and that is a lady by the name, I don't know, you probably never heard of her, Caliente, Conway Glenn. And she has been sort of an added spark to the Mayor's Youth Council that has sort of brought some things together. To know Caliente, come on up, Caliente. To know Caliente is to love Caliente, and no, you know it going. You just stand right here. To know her is to love her, and she's really added a much needed spark for us on our Mayor's Youth Council. I also must say that Hannah Miller at City Hall has provided a lot of support as well. And then I also want to thank the city manager for allowing this program to ensue in a way that it has, and Kelly Murphy, and allowing all of it to sort of pull off by allowing Hannah to dedicate some time to do that. So with that, the final reason, in addition to Caliente and all the others, is that this is the first class, to my knowledge, that's ever actually done a tangible product or project. We have the exhibits out in the hallway. I don't know, we have them on the screen. Okay, so this group decided that Riverwalk Park needed some upgrades. Their signage, as you walk the trail, had really sort of gotten a little bit outdated and weather torn and things of that nature. And so they wanted to make this their project. And this is one example of a total of how many, Hannah?
We have 9 total. We'll be installing 3.
Right. So June 3rd at 4 o'clock at Riverwalk Park, come to the celebration. We'll be installing 3 of these. And what I really like about it is one of the primary things that the Mayor's Youth Council did here, correct me if I'm wrong, number one is you identified there was a problem and you found a solution. But number 2 is I believe you were integral in some of the content on these boards that you'll see and you'll read. And really, as we focus on the Duck River, and that's been a topic of our conversation for the last couple of Mayor's Youth Council, it's pointing out the awesomeness that the Duck River is. So, with that said, I'm going to call out your names to come up. I think the ones that I have are here, and then we'll take a group picture. And one of you has to speak, so go ahead and designate yourself. And if you don't call him, I'm going to call on you. All right, Alan. Chair. Okay, that's right. Alan DeSerto. I may be mispronouncing your last name. I'm so sorry, Alan. Alan, not here. Okay. Briley Blade. All right, Briley Blade. Congratulations. This is your certificate. Why don't you just start the lead and start a line somewhere? Alexa. Zacharias. Is he not here? Okay. Samuel. Sam. Amaya. Lolly Joe Green. Mary Claire Griffith. I know her, that's okay. Catherine Hinson. 2 in a row, I knew. Sorry. No more of that. Ariana Johnson, who also know. Zarina. Come on up, Green Jones. Carter Lawrence. Devontae. Trey. Presley Miller. Addison Thomas. And Caleb Walbrecht. Anybody that's here that I did not call by chance? Okay, I think we have everybody. This is your Mayor's Youth Council. Again, best class ever for a multitude of reasons. The chair of the council is going to give a brief commentary. Okay.
I think just on speak on behalf of the council, we thank you to our community people. I think Dr. Ryan Jackson deserves some recognition. A lot of leadership he taught us throughout this year. So it's been a great year. We got to do something sensible with this thing. And I think I agree, and I've been in this company for 3 years, that this is definitely this will change stuff.
Very good, very good. For the seniors, go around and just tell us what you're doing after about 3 weeks from now you graduate. If that's the countdown list. Now, actually, you've already graduated, right? It's just like a formality? Okay. Seniors, what are you doing? You're not a senior.
I'm a community studies.
Do what, right?
Belmont University, political science, and career on track. I'm going to Rhodes College in the fall to study valves and be Democrat. I will be going to Columbia State for administration.
I will be going to Western Kentucky to study criminology and legal studies. I'll be going to Rhodes to study political science on a pre-law.
I'll be going to Western Kentucky University for communication science and disorders.
I'm going to the University of Tennessee to study pharmacy.
I'm going to Freed-Hardeman University to study kinesiology and evolution.
I'm going to Jacksonville State University to major in community.
Oftentimes we talk about all the negativity that's out there, and that gives you some pessimism. But I always stay so positive, and the reason I stay so positive is because I get to see this in action on a daily basis. And if this does not give you confidence in your community, not just where they're going to college, which of course is impressive, but just their willingness to be here, their willingness to serve, and willingness to learn about government, I don't think anything will. So congratulations to all of you. Those of you who are not graduating, apply again. You never know. Or did y'all change your bylaws? I don't know. At this point, let's take a group photo. We'll get y'all out of here. Here we go. Put that right here. Put the alarms around it here. It might allow us to do anything better. You're on the front. You're set.
Okay. You ready? Big five. 1, 2, 3. One more.
The good news is y'all are now free to leave. You don't have to stay. And it won't be awkward if you do want to leave. But thanks again. Let's give another round of applause. Thank you. I'm just going to make one more announcement. I just was informed that Zarina Jones, just yesterday, was announced that she had perfect attendance K through 12. So let's give a shout out for that. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for your indulgence on that. Those are always very exciting for us and for those who are being honored. And we appreciate your indulgence. Now we have item 5.4, Mr. Will Evans, who is here this evening. Will, thanks for your patience once again. But now you know a lot of what's going on regarding Public Works, Police, and Mayor's Youth Council. So thanks for being here, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Always educational. Mayor, members of council, glad to be with you this evening. Speaking of Public Works Week, I've got a thank you of my own. Actually, the Public Works was very helpful in our project that we've been working on at the Columbia, Tennessee rail site with some relocation of the TVA lines. They've helped kind of reduce some costs there and take better advantage of the grant funding we've had. So just some ingenuity there at the city and some great work by Public Works. So thanks to them for that as well. You guys do have a copy of the presentation. We'll skip on past the cover sheet and go to the Economic Development Dashboard. We are just wrapping up the May version of our dashboard, so this is still the April version, just with the way the month fell this year. But I'll highlight just a few things. The project pipeline you see at the top, is remaining healthy. We're tracking about 18 projects. 44% of those are businesses here in the community looking to expand, which is much higher than what we've seen as our historical trend of only about 10 to 20% of our pipeline being made up of existing industries. So that's indicative of our existing industries being successful, and also our proactive efforts to be a little more strategic in the types of new companies that we're working to relocate here. I will point out on the unemployment rate, you see the February numbers for Maury County were up to about 5.4%. That's a pretty big jump. However, that was a bit of a blip due to General Motors having a 1 to 2 week shutdown in the month of February to do some retooling. And they are qualified for unemployment benefits during that. But we have already gotten the March numbers, and that has gone back down to 2.9%. So again, that was just happened to be the week that they were measuring the unemployment that happened. So that was a bit of an anomaly. And then you've got our the housing permits, housing prices, vacancy rates, and things for the month of April. If you do receive our weekly newsletter, the May dashboard should be completed and in there next Monday with the new numbers. Moving on to the next slide, just a brief staff update. Last time we were here, we talked about Elizabeth Gallegos, who had been with our organization for a little over 18 months, transitioning to a new role to run the Align Maury Workforce Development Program. So she has moved into that role, and we have now since then backfilled her position, and would like to welcome Stephanie Hurst, who is our new Events and Member Services Manager, who filled Elizabeth's position. So we are now fully staffed as an organization with a staff of 10, and I went ahead and put everybody up there because there's been, if you look at the last 3 to 5 years, there's been a lot of new faces, and so just wanted everybody to see who we have on staff doing the hard work over across the street. And then the next slide, just a bit of a teaser. Watch out later this month, our annual KPI, or Key Performance Indicator report for 2025 will be coming out. We typically present this information to you, so either myself or Travis will likely be presenting this during the next council meeting, talking through that. But these are reports that we just started in 2023 to really look at you've got the economic development dashboard that's talking about the jobs and the capital investment. Well, we wanted to start measuring kind of the long-term economic impact of the activity that we've been seeing. And so this is a series of metrics that we're looking at the local level, the county. We've now benchmarked it against other counties across the state, and benchmarked it ourselves against other counties across the United States. And really looking at 3 questions. Is the community growing? Is the community growing wealthier? And is it producing the workforce that we need? So you see here just a screenshot of last year's, but just a foreshadow to watch late next week or the week after. We will be releasing those reports publicly. And then finally, just wanted to talk a little bit about our workforce initiatives and some movement there now that we do have a full-time staff. You see some photos on the last slide there. As we're wrapping up with the Mayor's Youth Council, things like that, end of the year, Maury County Public Schools, we were able to partner with them and the Youth Education Foundation to help celebrate the recipients of the Work Ethic Distinction from the state of Tennessee. This is a workforce readiness credential that is earned by high school seniors that are in participating counties, and Maury County is one of those systems. And they earn this distinction, or those who earn this distinction will actually be given preference for job interviews with partnering companies that have agreed to take part in that. So they've basically said, if you receive this distinction, we guarantee that we will at least interview those students who are ready to go straight into the workforce, is what this design. In order to receive this distinction, they do have to complete goals from 13 different categories, such as attendance. They have to have positive discipline records. They have to be able to pass a drug test, various things that an employer would look at as for a dependable employee. We describe this as, the students, the employee that has grit, that's going to show up and do the job well. We were able to work and expand this program or this celebration event this year. We were able to provide a keynote speaker. Columbia Machine Works, Jake Langston with their organization, came and talked to the students about their business and what they look for in a workforce. And then we actually had the opportunity to set up a career fair both before and after that event. So for students who were proactively looking to go into or looking for job opportunities as they graduate. So we had 10 different local businesses: Boys and Girls Club, Comprehensive Logistics, Ultium Cells was there, Columbia Power and Water, Harness, Maury Regional Health, Smelter Service, TriStar, JC Ford, and Wiremasters were all there on site. So the students could learn about job opportunities at their facilities, and also I believe there were some opportunities to even do on-site interviews while they were there. So just a good example of what we're doing with our workforce alignment program, where we can come in and find opportunities to enhance some of the workforce development programs that are going on in the county. So with that, I'll stop and take any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Evans? I just have a couple. First of all, is there do you know, Will, if there's the number that Ultium is given with regards to how many employees it currently has at their facility?
I don't want to put a specific number because I don't want to misquote it. What I can confirm is that our incentive offer did have a test of employment in there, and they have superseded those numbers.
Okay.
So, I can say that with confidence. I don't want to put the wrong number out.
In other words, they're on track.
They're above the projected numbers they provided.
Question number 2 on this annual KPI report. Do you all break it? I mean, you're obviously getting the information for the entire population of what is now showing 108,000. Is there a breakdown for municipalities and for outside of municipalities on any of these numbers? I mean, because as you know, the city of Columbia, particularly in median household income and average income and some assessment values, our percentages seem to be a little bit higher than what's here. But I understand that could have a balancing effect. And on the other hand, sometimes our unemployment rate is what brings it up a little bit. So I know it cuts both ways, but did you just dissect it in that way?
Short answer on the reports, we do not get that granular because not every data set gets that granular. So we couldn't be consistent there, but we likely do have that data on the back end. We'd be happy to provide what we do have.
I'd love to see it if possible. Final thing, I'll just point out that on tonight's agenda, 6.4, we have approval of the mayor's appointment of City Council Member Charlie Huffman to the Mary Lyons Board of Directors. So you'll have a new board member representing City Council here after this evening, assuming he gets the votes, which I think he's okay there.
We look forward to that, and once it's official, we'll be sure to get that on your calendar and be happy to sit down and talk to you about what all that entails. It's pretty easy lift.
Any questions other from Mr. Evans? Hearing none. Okay, thank you, Will, as always, for that presentation.
Thank you all, and we appreciate your continued support.
All right. Moving on now to item 6, organizational business. 6.1, approve the minutes of the April 10, 2025 City Council meeting. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison, Mr. Huffman, Mr. Marshall, Mr. McKelvey, Ms. Sechrist, Vice Mayor McBroom, Mayor Mulder.
Aye, that item is approved. Next item, 6.2, ratify the approval of retirement benefits for David Burns, Equipment Mechanic Street Department. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion on item 6.2? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison, Mr. Huffman, Mr. Marshall, Mr. McKelvey, Ms. Sechrist, Vice Mayor McBroom, Mayor Mulder.
Aye, that item is approved. Next item, 6.3, approve the retirement benefits for William Ferris, Plant Operator, Wastewater Department. Let me point out that we actually had a question come up on this at the trustees board meeting, which met prior to this council's meeting, as you all know, and the trustees voted to defer to the June meeting to get a question clarified. And so as a result of that action, I believe it would be appropriate for me to make a motion to defer item 6.3 to the June agenda. It's been seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison, Mr. Huffman, Mr. Marshall, Mr. McKelvey, Ms. Sechrist, Vice Mayor McBroom, Mayor Mulder.
Aye. That item is deferred to the June meeting. Next item and final item under organizational business, 6.4, approve the mayor's appointment of the City of Columbia Councilmember Charlie Huffman to the Mary Lyons Board of Directors for a term expiring on December 31, 2028. I'll make that motion. Second. It's been seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Huffman, speak now or forever hold your peace. Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison, Mr. Huffman, Mr. Marshall, Mr. McKelvey, Ms. Sechrist, Vice Mayor McBroom, Mayor Mulder.
Aye. I vote aye. Mr. Huffman, were you choosing to abstain from that vote? Okay, so I guess we have 6 ayes and 1 abstention. All right, the consent agenda, section 7. This is the portion of the agenda of items that are deemed non-controversial, not requiring any additional debate or discussion. We can remove the consent agenda items if it is requested by a member of council based upon the number that you want. We'll read it now. 7.1, approve disbursements for the month of March 2025 in the amount of $7,676,819.62. Item 7.2, approve and authorize the mayor to execute Addendum 2 for additional professional services with Barge Design Solutions for Iron Bridge Road over Lytle Creek Bridge replacement in the amount of $5,200. This is Ward 3. Item 7.3, approve and authorize the mayor to sign a contract amendment 4 between the City of Columbia and Lowe's Design to the amount of $79,000. Item 7.4, approve change orders number 7, 8, and 9 with Brindley Construction LLC for the City of Columbia Fire Station project, which overall reduces the contract amount by $3,159. 7.5, approve bid award in the amount of $171,890.23 to Dell Technologies for Microsoft Office 365 software and services utilizing state contracts. Item 7.6, approve and authorize the mayor to sign contract change order number 1 between the City of Columbia and Cumberland Valley Constructors, Inc. as it pertains to the retainage amount on the contractor for the construction of the Duck River Sewage Pump Station replacement. Tennessee state law limits the amount of retainage to 5%. And the final item under the consent agenda, item 7.7, approve and authorize the mayor to sign an agreement between the City of Columbia and Net Planner Systems, Inc. for video surveillance equipment, which includes provisions and installations of 16 cameras in the amount of $27,066 to be utilized at Fire Station Number 1, located at 1000 South Garden Street. That is the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison, Mr. Huffman, Mr. Marshall, Mr. McKelvey, Ms. Sechrist, Vice Mayor McBroom, Mayor Mulder.
Aye, the consent agenda is approved. No items under Section 8 administration. We move now to resolutions. If you'll recall, at the top of the agenda, we moved resolution number 9.4 to the top of the resolution, which is as follows. Resolution number 2536, a resolution of the City Council of Columbia, Tennessee, supporting efforts that will result in ensuring an adequate long-term water supply for the region, including the reconstruction of the Columbia Dam. And I know that we had one person sign up to speak this evening regarding the Columbia Dam, and that was County Commissioner Jerry Bridenbaugh. Mr. Bridenbaugh relayed message that he had an event that he had to get to. He had actually relayed that up front, that he was going to be in a slight hurry, and he understood that those presentations were important. Took a little longer than he thought, but I'm going to allow County Commissioner Pam Huffman to speak in his place at the request of Commissioner Bridenbaugh, who had to leave. So, Commissioner Huffman, you'll have the podium for 3 minutes. We know who you are, but introduce yourself and tell us your address for the record.
Okay. My name is Pam Huffman. I'm a county commissioner in District 1. We live at 204 Sewanee Circle in Columbia. I'm proud to be able to speak to you tonight. I didn't know I was going to be speaking, so this is kind of off the cuff, but I want to thank you all for supporting the dam project. It's going to be a very good move, I think, for the county, for the city, and for the state. It should bring in lots of tourism dollars, not to mention all the water that we need to keep the counties and cities going. I thank you so much for your approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Huffman, for being here this evening and for those comments. I'm just wanting to make sure that I'm not missing anyone that signed up for the dam. I don't think I am. So we are on item 9.4. If we had a motion, we have not had a motion. We'll entertain a motion. It's been moved and properly seconded. I'll just add some commentary to this. As you all may know, the County Commission, Maury County Commission, approved the resolution in support at its April meeting, full commission meeting, I believe. I believe the same individual or entity that sought their approval also came to the City of Columbia. I thought it would be a good gesture for the City of Columbia to be the first municipality that has passed a resolution, which to my knowledge, I think we are. If somebody beat us to us, I'm sorry. We had to give public notice. But if Maury County was first with their resolution, I want to make sure Columbia was second. You'll notice that our resolution is worded in a way that shows our support for all efforts underway regarding long-term water supply. We know that there are some that are farther along than others, but if this is indeed a solution, which it can be, we want to be there to support it as well. And so with that, I just wanted you to know that's sort of how it came to be that we bring it before the council tonight. Any other discussion on this resolution? Hearing none, we'll take the vote.
Ms. Hardison, Mr. Huffman, Mr. Marshall, Mr. McKelvey? Ms. Seacrest? Vice Mayor McBroom? Mayor Mulder?
Aye. Resolution item 9.4 is approved. We'll go back now to resolution 9.1 regarding tax corrections. It's been moved, properly seconded. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison? Mr. Huffman? Mr. Marshall? Mr. McKelvey? Ms. Seacrest? Vice Mayor McBroom? Mayor Mulder?
Aye, that item is approved. Next item, 9.2, Resolution 2533, a resolution to ratify the City of Columbia's application for the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation Waste Reduction Recycling Equipment Grant for $297,639.72 and authorize the mayor to execute documents relating to accepting and administering the grant project.
Move to approve. Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Mr. Massey, can you just remind us once again of what this is, just so that everyone knows?
Be happy to, Mayor. This is an application to apply to the Tennessee Department of Environment Conservation to help fund 70% of the cost of a second recycling truck for the City of Columbia. As you heard last week during the study session with Mr. Dwyer, our participation by the citizenry has gone up to over 42%, and we're at a point now where we actually need a second truck because the first truck cannot get it all picked up in a week's time. So that is what the request is for.
And thank you. And I thought it was important to point out that this does include grant funding to help fund this second truck. This truck will also allow us to expand our recycling efforts and also expedite the process. And the fact that Columbia is at 42%, which, as Mr. Dwyer pointed out, anything north of 40% is generally seen as positive. We have a very robust recycling program, but it's a program, like many things, that required ongoing maintenance and upkeep to keep going in a way that we can't allow our truck now to go dead, because then we would have no way to have continuity of service.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And we've utilized this grant program in the past to purchase recycling trucks. So this was be a second time we're applying. And as you pointed out, Mayor, 42% is really a very, very good participation rate for volunteers participation in the community.
Also want to give a special thank you to everyone who participated in our National Litter Awareness Month, including the recycling truck on 2 different occasions, who was willing to demonstrate several times to each individual kid so they could have their own private demonstration. And it was really fun to see, but it's good to see kids get excited about recycling as well, and it's part of what this truck does when it's open and out there. All right, any other questions on that? Are we ready for a vote on item 9.2? Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison? Mr. Huffman? Mr. Marshall? Mr. McKelvey? Ms. Seacrest? Vice Mayor McBroom? Mayor Mulder?
Aye, that item is approved. Next item, Resolution 2534, a resolution amending Section 200, Employment of the Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual of the City of Columbia by adding 216, Limited English Proficiency Procedures. It's been moved. It's been properly seconded. Any discussion on that item? Hearing none. Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison? Mr. Huffman? Mr. Marshall? Mr. McKelvey? Ms. Seacrest? Vice Mayor McBroom? Mayor Mulder?
Aye, that item is approved. Now we'll move into our final section, ordinances, beginning with ordinance, our item number 10.1, first consideration of ordinance 4542, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 24-25 budget ordinance 4503 as amended, providing for revisions to the general capital projects wastewater funds and establish the date of June 12, 2025 as the date of public hearing.
Move to approve. Second.
That has been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison? Mr. Huffman? Mr. Marshall? Mr. McKelvey? Ms. Seacrest? Vice Mayor McBroom? Mayor Mulder?
Aye, that item is approved. Next item, 10.2, first consideration of ordinance 4543, an ordinance fixing the tax rate for the City of Columbia for the year 2025 on all taxable property at the rate of 0.8251 per 100 and establish the date of June 12, 2025 as the date of public hearing.
Motion to approve. Second.
It's been moved. It's been properly seconded. Any discussion on that item? Hearing none. Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison? Mr. Huffman? Mr. Marshall? Mr. McKelvey? Ms. Seacrest? Vice Mayor McBroom? Mayor Mulder?
Aye, that item is approved. Next item is 10.3, first consideration of ordinance number 4544, appropriation ordinance for fiscal year July 1, 2025 through June 30, 2026. and establish June 12, 2025 as a day of public hearing. And Mr. City Manager, this is the
budget.
actual budget.
Yes, sir.
When we hear the word appropriation, then we can see that as being, this is the budget item, and this is the item for which I believe we have a number of speakers who have signed up to speak this evening, beginning with Gabe Howard. Mr. Howard, Commissioner, welcome. You'll have the floor for 3 minutes. You know the drill. If you'll give us your name and address, please.
Yes, sir. Gabe Howard, 1270 Cranford Hollow Road, here in Columbia. Mayor Mulder, Vice Mayor McBroom, City Council, City Manager. Thank y'all for the opportunity. I didn't know I was going to be first to speak. Wasn't really sure if the budget that y'all were approving tonight was your first consideration for the budget, but appreciate the opportunity. We have spent a considerable amount of time on our budget over the last couple of months, and one of the things that I want to talk to you about tonight, I've talked to several of you already, but I want to continue the conversation, and I've got some ideas on maybe some things that we can do. But Maury County Animal Services, 20 years ago, entered into a relationship with the city of Columbia. And I think there's a lot of historical information that's important as y'all are making decisions. Even speaking with some city council members, there were things that I presented to them that they did not know. There were some things that they presented to me that I didn't know. And so I've only been in Maury County since 2006, really got involved in the community really in the last, 5-6 years. And so I believe that the city of Columbia is a partner with Maury County. And, I do want to just put it out there. I understand that everyone that pays city taxes is also a Maury County taxpayer. And so to me, that's an important point because I've heard that, coming from several different folks. To me, this is not about the individual taxpayer obligation. This is about a partnership for the fact that, the city of Columbia went into that relationship and that partnership, did away with animal control officers and, funded 52% of the animal services building that Maury County Animal Services today gets to call home. For the first lot of years, half of that $200,000 was the Maury County Animal Services budget. Today, that budget is $1.2 million. We were presented the other night a $7.3 million expansion, which we cannot fund today. And so, we're going to continue to look at additional funding sources and options for the animal services. Tonight, my ask to you is we've got to do better. And I'm asking for your guys' help. And I would also, I did talk with Kim Raffoff. I know she's been coming before this body. And I think historically that wasn't something that was done. And so I'm proud that Kim has got involved and, does come and present to this body. But I would challenge and I would ask City Council to come out to the Animal Services Shelter. Let's set up an open house. And then I would like to do a joint session with City Council and Maury County Commission. To the best that I know, I don't know if that's ever been done, but I'd like for us to do that. And let's open it up. Let's have real conversation instead of the constant, hey, City of Columbia is not doing their part. Hey, Maury County, y'all need to fund the whole thing. And so Mayor, I'd love to challenge this body. Let's do that together. I don't know what that looks like. I'm committed to get with Chairman Markham and figure out what that looks like. I'd love to do that sooner rather than later. It's time for us to truly be partners. The City of Columbia, I appreciate all of what you guys do. I appreciate Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Manager, what you guys do. I know that we've got an amazing community. I think we need to figure this thing out together and not keep kicking the can down the road. 20 years ago, a $400,000 budget. Today it's $1.2 million. That $200,000 doesn't go very far today like it did 20 years ago. And so,
all right. Thank you, Mr. Howard. I gave you 37 extra seconds. I can't do that for everybody, but you had 37.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank y'all.
Thank you. And thank you to the young baseball player who appears to be with you tonight. I hope he wins his game. All right. Next up is Commissioner Kathy Grody. I hope I pronounced that right. Grody. I knew that, Commissioner Grody. I do apologize. Commissioner, thank you for being here this evening. If you'll give us your name and address, you'll have the floor for 3 minutes.
Sure. Kathy Grody. My address is 555 Farmstead Lane in Spring Hill in Maury County. Today was marked an important day with the United States and Great Britain on their agreement of they've been trying for years and years and years to come to an agreement on tariffs, and the different ways that they're treating each other, and it was a milestone agreement. And then I believe that Murray County showed that we want to work with this council on the cemeteries, the 2 cemetery mowing issue that we had, and that we were open to working with the city on that. I would like to see, just like Commissioner Howard said, I'm asking for a joint session with the Murray County Commission and this commission to see where we can work together on things, and to see, just a more equitable share of the cost of things that it costs to do an animal shelter. I'm here to ask you to consider a capital projects donation, or whatever you want to call it, or involvement, a partnership on the capital projects for a new animal shelter. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, for being here and for your service. We're now on the next page. I have Randy McKnight says, speak before group for concerns. I'm not sure, Mr. McKnight, what item that is for.
Well, it's for idea.
Okay, it's relative to, is it on tonight's agenda? Okay, well, you know what? I wish I'd have caught this earlier, but what I can tell you is that we only allow comments for items on the agenda on city council meeting nights, which is tonight, but we allow comments on any matter of any concern during study session meetings, which is the first Thursday of every month. But to expedite that for you, if you'll just send me an email regarding your concern, I'll make sure it gets directed to where it needs to go, and my email address can be found on the city website.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. We had Commissioner Brownbaugh via Commissioner Huffman. The last one up is Kim Ratliff.
Good evening. My name is Kim Ratliff. I'm the director of Murray County Animal Shelter. I send the monthly numbers. I wanted to know if there's any questions. This month in particular, I put it into maps so everybody could see with the addresses where it all lied as far as the numbers. The shelter is desperately busting at the seams. There is people that are evicted. There is people that move here and they have a change of circumstances. With growth comes animals. I was fortunate enough to see at the commission meeting how the city and the county came together on Rose Hill, and I am desperately asking that the city look at the animal shelter and we come to some kind of an agreement. Vaccines are 4 times the price of what they used to be. That money just does not go as far as it did back in the day. So animals do not know a zip code. They only know that they're abandoned. And it's easy to say, hey, we can just do this, or you try to rehome. Rescues are busting at the seams. Animal shelters are busting at the seams. And I'm just begging you guys to help. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for the director of the Animal Services Center? Seeing none. Okay, thank you, Kim, for being here this evening. So that takes us back to the appropriation ordinance, item 10.3, which I have already read. Mr. City Manager, can you remind council there are 2 potential matters, I believe, that may warrant conversation relative to Murray Alliance and also the Animal Services Center. Can you remind where we are in that procedurally and how to go about doing that?
Yes, sir. The proposed ordinance in front of you tonight is the budget that staff prepared and presented to you on our one-on-one sessions. As the mayor noted, that there were 2 additional considerations that we discussed during those meetings. One was the animal shelter. The other is increased appropriation to Murray Alliance. If you pass this tonight, next month at the June meeting, we'll have the opportunity to amend on second reading if you so desired to address those 2 additional requests.
Okay, and so that
we can discuss at the study session if you like.
Right. So can we not amend it on first consideration?
You could. Yes, sir, you could.
Such that the amendment happens tonight and it follows through. Can you remind us on the Murray Alliance request?
That request was go to from $100,000 a year to $140,000 a year. And there, as you know, we have a contractual arrangement with Murray Alliance to provide economic development recruitment for the city of Columbia.
As well as chamber services.
As well as chamber services. They provide the same for the county government and city of Springville.
All right. And that is a part of their request, which is an increase as a part of their 5-year capital campaign, which they're soon to conclude, which every other governmental entity, I believe, has approved or is considering an increase as well.
Yes. I can't speak to that, Mayor. I just know about us.
All right. And then with respect to the animal shelter, can you remind us what we currently fund?
We currently
and what
fund,
this budget has?
This budget has $220,000 in it earmarked for the Murray County Animal Shelter.
For the fiscal year 25-26?
Yes, sir.
And that represents a 10% increase from the prior year?
Yes, sir. You increased it 10% this time last year.
Okay. All right, we're back on discussion on item 10.3. Does anyone have anything on that before we take a vote? I mean, we have an opportunity to amend tonight, or we have an opportunity, if anybody's inclined, to amend next week or next month. And I guess I'll just go ahead and make some motions to see, because either it's going to pass or it's not. And so I will make the motion that we approve subject to the 2 amendments. Mr. Hubble, the first amendment being that we approve the Murray Alliance request to increase our annual funding from $100,000 a year to $140,000 per year. And then the second amendment would be with respect to the animal shelter, and that is that we, as the City of Columbia, provide an additional 10% increase on top of the 10% increase from the last period, which would amount to $242,000 annually, which again, representing that 10% increase would equate to 20% over the last 2 years. And let me say a couple things on this, because I've gotten all the emails. I've responded to most of them. Generally, I respond to them on Sunday morning in bulk, but I do respond. I haven't responded to the latest emails because I knew that this was on tonight's agenda, and I wanted to focus more on thinking how this could look. I've spoken with several people on this. Spoken with the county mayor, who I want to give credit to, by the way. It was pointed out that that Kim Ratliff has started coming to these meetings and has provided emails. That never had happened until when there was a request for increased funding, and we said, well, if we're going to increase funding, we need to start knowing a little more about what we're funding, and that has happened. The county mayor also convened for the first time since I've been mayor, and a joint animal board that was comprised of Mount Pleasant, Spring Hill County, and Columbia officials, of which the city manager and I have attended at least 2 of those meetings. And so there has been a lot of progress made with respect to trying to get the conversation out there. The request that has been made for the last 2 years from a percentage standpoint in a municipal government our size and in a budget our size is not a request that we have the ability to absorb from a budgetary standpoint. For example, this past year, we paid $4.3 million to save an aquatics and recreation center that is utilized, by the way, by the county school system to have pools that the City of Columbia is not obligated to provide, but we are providing those and we are saving those. In addition, the upcoming budget has over $2 million worth of improvements to that facility, which will make the facility even better. And I don't say that for any reason other than to say there are several matters that we have to consider and fund, and what we can and what we cannot, just like the county commission does. And I really appreciate the county commissioners that are saying that they would like to get together and have a work session. But I would also, with all due respect, let you know that words have consequences. And, you know, when you go out on social media and say things, they get back to us. I mean, you know, when I'm getting 5 text messages a day from a friend who says that, can you see what this county commissioner said about you? That makes it tough. And, as for me, you're never going to hear me call out a county commissioner individually or county mayor Butt for that matter, because I respect her and that office and the offices that y'all hold. And if we're going to talk about a Team Murray approach, which Mayor Butt says often, we have to make sure that we realize in order to be a team, it's not being critical on Facebook and then coming to one of our meetings and asking for money and to be a team. It requires more than that, with all due respect. And one of my greatest disappointments is that we see these arguments regarding city and county. The county has just as many things that it could say that it does that the city says that it does. I mean, the city of Columbia is at 38% of the tax dollar. When you add our $244,000, all of a sudden we're funding 62% of the animal shelter. We're not taking 62% of the animal shelter's cost in terms of dog volume based upon the numbers. And speaking of those numbers, I question those to the extent that some of those get tagged to Columbia that might not necessarily should be. But to your point, it shouldn't be about the locality. It should be about the county as a whole. However, the numbers that we get and what we keep getting shown on social media is that Columbia is requiring more of a burden. But it's not being pointed out that Columbia is paying for its burden when you consider that 38 cents of our dollar is going to the county, which means that 38% of that is being paid for us out of our county tax dollars. And then again, when you add our additional contribution, we're actually paying more than our fair share. And you don't hear us complain about that. Just like you don't hear us complain when the county builds a new fire hall that we'll never get services for, other than the fact that we have an automatic aid agreement in place now, for which I'm very grateful and excited about. But there are several county services for which we are paying 38% of the county tax dollar, for which we will never receive any benefit in exchange therefor. But we can't harp on that and complain about that. But then on the other hand, have a county commission that's telling us that we're not doing our fair share, but then come and ask for a teamwork type of situation. So I would just encourage you all to just be cognizant of that. Mayor Butt, I greatly appreciate, I think understands that. I know she understands that. We talk about that often in our meetings that we have regularly. Mayor Butt understands the importance of working together. She says Team Murray often, but Team Murray can't just be something that we say. It's going to require action on all of our parts. So with that said, any other discussion on my motion to approve the budget ordinance on first consideration subject to those two amendments? Hearing none, we'll take the vote.
Ms. Hardison?
I'll second your motion.
Motion seconded. I apologize. Any discussion now that it's been seconded? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison? Mr. Huffman? Mr. Marshall? Mr. McKelvey? Ms. Sechrist? Vice Mayor McBroom? Mayor Mulder?
Aye. Item 10.3 is passed on first consideration. Next item, 10.4, first consideration of ordinance 4545, an ordinance to approve the classification and compensation plan for the employees of the City of Columbia for the 25-26 fiscal year, and I will be glad to make a motion to approve this. It's been properly seconded. Again, just want to say, as the city manager knows, and Mr. Jablonski, always the first question that we ask at a budget presentation is, what are we doing for our city employees? And I'm pleased once again that we're able to provide an increase to our employees to continue with retention and keeping good folks on board and paying them for what we are getting, which is a very high quality service. Any other discussion on the classification and compensation plan, item 10.4? Hearing none, Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison? Mr. Huffman? Mr. Marshall? Mr. McKelvey? Ms. Sechrist? Vice Mayor McBroom? Mayor Mulder?
Aye, that item is approved. Next item, 10.5, first consideration of ordinance 4546, an ordinance amending Title 18, Chapter 3, Section 18303 of the Municipal Code of the City of Columbia by replacing it in its entirety, the present Schedules A and B, and adopting and approving new Schedules A and B, and establish the date of June 12, 2025 as the date of public hearing.
Motion to approve.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Jablonski.
Ms. Hardison? Mr. Huffman? Mr. Marshall? Mr. McKelvey? Ms. Sechrist? Vice Mayor McBroom? Mayor Mulder?
Aye, that item is approved. Item 10.6, first consideration of ordinance 4547 to amend zoning ordinance 4400, the zoning ordinance of the City of Columbia, Tennessee, amending the Honey Farm PUD Master Plan for a 7.49 acre portion of Lot 6 in Honey Farm Crossing, located off of Nashville Highway and Honey Farm Way.
Second.
That motion has been properly made and properly seconded. Very excited about this item 10.6. I know it's just first consideration. I know that Drew Smith was here. He may have left after he heard me going on and on and on, but okay. All right, Drew Smith. Thank you for being here. Do you have anything that you would like to say? Okay. Anybody have any questions on item 10.6? All right, we'll take the vote.
Ms. Hardison, Mr. Huffman, Mr. Marshall, Mr. McKelvey, Ms. Sechrist, Vice Mayor McBroom, Mayor Mulder.
Aye, that item is approved. Final item 10.7, first consideration 4548, an ordinance to approve an access easement agreement for property owned by the City of Columbia and shown on tax map 112, parcels 009.01 and 002.08, and known as Ridley Park Road, providing for vehicular and pedestrian access from Trotwood Avenue, State Route 243, on, over, and across Ridley Park Road to property owned by Meritage Homes of Tennessee. This is item 10.7. Mr. City Manager?
Mayor, I asked the city attorney if he could address this issue. I think the council has been receiving some email correspondence from individuals at Taylor Mill subdivision, and I think probably for some clarity, Mr. Attorney, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you.
Two separate issues here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. City Manager. I'll be glad to do that. This is an easement over the road that goes into Ridley Park from Trotwood Avenue. When the city acquired that property, or the property for Ridley Park back in the mid-2000s, they acquired most of the property without access to Trotwood. And in order to induce the current owners of that property to deed the city some additional property, which is what is now the Ridley Park Road, the city at that time agreed to provide those property owners access to the road once constructed and once the property owners requested access to the road. This is the property when you go into Ridley Park. They own the property to the left of the road, and as you go in, before you make that left-hand turn, they own the property that would be directly in front of you there. And at the time, the two owners of those properties both conveyed enough property to the city for us to construct the Ridley Park Road, to join the park and have access out to Trotwood. The city manager at that time provided a letter to the property owners outlining that and going into some detail that if they would convey the city that property, the city would agree at such time as they requested to give them access to the road. That's a letter that's signed by the city manager at the time, has been passed down. The property's changed hands a time or two, and that letter has been passed down, and I think people that have the current owners of that property bought the property in partial reliance on that letter, and I think I know the owners at the time conveyed the property to the city based on reliance on that letter that the city manager wrote in 2008. So this is something that, of course, you're the council members, you can vote how you please, but I don't know that there's much choice based on what the city agreed to do previously in regard to that easement. The letter indicates, and I think the understanding has been that road will eventually become a public road, that it'll eventually become a city street. It is just privately owned by the city right now. It's not public, not a public street, but I think the indication and the plan all along has been that it would become a public street. At such time, property owners would have access to it anyway. What this easement does, because there's not development out there now, there's not houses. Part of the agreement back in 2008 was that we'd have a gate out at Trotwood so we wouldn't have people just up and down that road all the time. By granting an easement, it still allows us to have a gate, close the gate, restrict some access to that park at night, to the roads, until a later date when it does become a city street and we've got houses and we've got more activity out there, then we'd have to take the gate down. But so I guess long story short, this is an agreement that was made in 2008 that I think the city's legally obligated at this point to make good on the agreement that was made then by approving this easement.
This may be in the report, Mr. City Attorney, but is this This is just getting it recorded and legally binding so that when the road construction begins, they have it and they'll get their access point. Is that essentially, I mean, there's not any construction that's going to happen after we approve this, is there?
Not
I guess
any,
it could be.
I mean, there's not any construction, to my knowledge, immediately on the horizon. At some point, I mean, as I understand it, there's a preliminary plan that has been approved out there, of course. So at some point, there will be some construction out there, and they'll have access to the road. They're also going to be building, and if I say something wrong, I'll get Mr. Keltner to correct me on this, but they'll be building another entrance into their property. One of their tracks has frontage on Trotwood. They'll be building an entrance there. It will be signalized. So this road won't be the only access into that development, but it will be partial access because they've got a track in the back that doesn't have road frontage, that they just about would have to come across this road to access for construction and ingress egress purposes for any homes built in that area.
And then final thing for you, Mr. Hubble, I think one of the reasons that we wanted an overview is because we have received, or at least I have, and I think a lot of council has received a number of emails from, to Mr. City Manager's point, residents that live in the Taylor's Bend subdivision, Taylor's Landing subdivision, Taylor's Bend Road maybe is the name of the street, Taylor's Landing, we were both right, Taylor's Landing, that Meritage is the developer, and they are expressing their request that we deny what Meritage is requesting relative to a property that is totally unrelated. I mean, that's not something that would be, I mean, legally valid to consider that. I mean, I think, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do, Mayor. I don't think you can consider what's happening or what any complaints are at Taylor's Landing as it pertains to this easement. We are not necessarily granting, we are granting ultimately an easement to Meritage, but we're not granting that because it's Meritage, or we would be granting that to whomever the property owner is. We've been required to do that when they ask since 2008. Meritage bought that property recently and has now made the request that they're entitled to make under that previous agreement. So it's not, I don't think we can go looking at what their complaints are regarding Taylor's Bend. They're two completely separate issues. It just happens to be that it's the same property owner or same developer.
In other words, it's legally binding on us at this point, and we're prohibited from considering the other. However, perhaps they have accomplished a goal in as much as they've gotten their complaints known, and perhaps that will allow Meritage to understand and, have a conversation that they might not otherwise have. So for all those emails that we have received on this, perhaps if nothing else, it got out in front of the public to hear that there is some concern coming from the folks at Taylor's Landing. Any questions for the city attorney? Very good overview. Thank you for that, Mr. Hubble. Okay, Councilmember Hardison.
Would this warrant any type of construction now, or just a possibility for the future?
Well, there has been a preliminary plan approved for construction on that property. I don't know, Mr. Keltner, there's no immediate, I mean, that preliminary plan's approved, but we don't have any indication they're going to be building within the next months or year, do we know?
Paul, if you come forward, please.
Yes, sir. Well said earlier as well. So this is on an existing road. So during that agreement, what part of that agreement was stating that it had to meet city street standards. So the road out there now, the driveway, the access road, whatever you'd like to call it, is actually meeting our, at that time, current street standards. So it's ready to be a public road at any time that the council wishes to do so. They actually have, so it's already constructed to go to this particular piece of property. During that master plan that was approved by this commission, there is a very sharp turn into Ridley Park itself. They are willing to straighten that curve out a little bit for us, flatten it down a little bit. So there will be some construction, but as far as time-wise, yeah, it could be next year, this year, 2 years from now. We're on their time schedule a little bit on that. But in order to move forward with the housing construction, those are some of the things that would have to be done out there.
They've got the preliminary plan has been approved, but they've not submitted a final plan or as far as that process goes to kind of, I think the question was, are we going to see construction out there next week or next month?
Right. If this were to be approved. I was just wondering, like, okay, are they going to go ahead and start doing stuff, or do the residents of that area is like, okay, it could be coming down the pike later?
Well, the road's already constructed. They do have land disturbance permit, so they could start moving dirt anytime. They've had that permit for a couple of months now. I don't think they were heading that direction anytime soon. What they were telling us, but they are on the clock. So vesting laws do have a sunset clause, so they only have so much time to start construction there to keep that vested right moving forward. But this particular request, though, is just on the road and the easement that's already out there. This is just kind of putting this in place, recording it, and solidifying this is where your access is, and it's going to the entrance point of the property in the backside.
In the end, is all of this going to come out on Ridley Park? I know the road because I put street lights out in there. Is all that going to funnel out on Mount Pleasant Pike?
Jake was referring to the second entrance. So the entrance actually is going to go, the signalized entrance is going to come through their development and straight into Ridley Park. So when you get into the last curve going into Ridley Park, right when you start to see the ball fields, that'll actually be a straight road there now that'll go all the way to Trotwood now at an intersection, a signalized intersection.
The intersection where on Trotwood?
Straight. So if you were coming out of Ridley Park, right there where the ball fields are, you just go straight. There'll be a road there that'll go straight. That goes right through their development to a signal.
It's got to come out there at Rutherford Lane because there's not another road up through there that I know of.
No, sir. It comes out on Trotwood.
Well, Trotwood's already full now. So, I mean, what are we going to do with the infrastructure out there? I mean, infrastructure is not there to do all this. I understand what we're doing here, but the infrastructure is not there to build them houses out there. Mount Pleasant Pike's full now. 43 was built to get people out of Columbia. That's the reason 43 was built, and they left that because there's so many wrecks out there. Ain't no telling how many poles I've changed out there for wrecks. So I mean, what's going to happen there?
Yes, sir. So this is just in reference to something that was approved last year by this commission. So all the rights to develop are already approved. All the traffic studies are already done. They could not put an intersection at Ridley Park Drive because there's not enough right of way there to fit the turn lanes in. So that's why it had to move back to their entrance that they created another entrance to come in on. So that part will be signaled. There'll be 2 more signals that'll come up through there. They're doing improvements down through Trotwood Avenue as well, and as well as 43 where it goes into Zion Road and Old Zion Road. So, but all of those things have already been worked out. This is just on the access road that's currently there today.
That light will be southwest of the Ridley Park Road, right? Just south towards Mount Pleasant on
Yes,
Trotwood.
Well, that stretch down there through this called Duke's Stretch. Duke's old store used to be up on top of the hill. The mayor, Tony may know where he knows what I'm talking about. There used to be an old store there at the top of the hill. It's called Duke's Stretch down through there.
Patience hasn't yet run on that. We better move on. All right. Any other questions, Mr. Keltner, Mr. Huffman, Councilmember Hardison?
Just one more thing for clarity. So are we saying that if this were to pass, all the traffic from Ridley Park will come through that neighborhood? No. Okay.
No, it'll the Ridley Park Road will still be there, so Ridley Park can come out the Ridley Park Road, and then there'll be an additional entrance from Trotwood into the development.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. I mean, we want to make sure we get this right. There's not any variance that's being provided here. This project is fully vested in title. This is just recording the easement that basically has been official but unofficial until our action. So with that, on 10.7, I'll make a motion to approve. It's been seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Jablonski?
Mr. Huffman? Mr. Hubbin? Mr. Marshall?
Aye.
Mr. McKelvey?
Aye.
Ms. Sechrist?
No.
Vice Mayor McBroom?
Aye.
Mayor Mulder?
Aye. That item is approved. Any other business for the good of council? We mentioned next week's police memorial service on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pleasant Heights. We look forward to that as always. We regretfully had to postpone the farmers market bell ringing and opening, but that has been rescheduled for the 17th. Really excited about that. And then we have the historic marker unveiling on Thursday, May 22nd at 3:30 in front of the memorial building. Anyone on council have anything wish to be heard?
Yes, I'd like to thank the county commissioners and one who came tonight and spoke. I'd like to thank them for coming.
You happen to know one of them.
Hey, listen, I probably should have said that, but I didn't have big trouble.
Yeah, well, I'll help you out. And with that, Councilmember Huffman, I'll let you make the motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
All right, is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Marshall. Any discussion? Take the vote, please.
Ms. Hardison? Mr. Huffman? Mr. Marshall? Mr. McKelvey? Ms. Sechrist? Vice Mayor McBroom? Mayor Mulder?
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you.